Retail theft is on the rise in Canada, with food costs still stubbornly high despite the recent drop in Canada's inflation rate. Retailers are fighting back by stepping up security measures, with some customers reporting the wheels on their carts locking randomly and being stopped at the store exit to show their receipt. Joining me with more on this and more on the legal aspect of all of this is corporate and commercial lawyer with Aird and Burles, Sairam Sanakumar. Great to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a scenario. So let's say you're leaving the grocery store, you've got your cart, and you're about to go, and then the cart locks. An employee comes over to you, says, "Show me your receipt, and I will unlock your cart." Do you have to comply? Can you say no? What are the rules around this?
Well, you have to comply when someone stops you at the door, and if there's reasonable suspicion that they have or probable cause that you've done something wrong, which could be in the form of an alarm going off, or it could be the fact that, you know, the shopping cart wheels have locked. It is important for the customer to comply. Now, these are preventive measures that customers are being made to comply with. The law gets a bit tricky when the person is detained. And when the person is detained, the question is that detention lawful or not? And that can be done only if there's reasonable ground or if there's reasonable suspicion of theft or some kind of wrongdoing. Now, what amounts to reasonable suspicion or reasonable ground is a question of fact. But then there is something called the shopkeeper's privilege, which is still a developing concept of law in Canada, but it's quite developed and it's there in the law in the US. It says that the shopkeeper does have a small margin of error, and it's like a legal immunity against a claim of false imprisonment, even if they go wrong with suspecting someone who might have, done something. But if, let's say, it's subsequently proved that the customer didn't do anything wrong, there is a margin of error or, a legal immunity that they have. Now, shopkeeper's privilege is just a developing concept in Canada. It's still in the works. There's just one case in all of Ontario that has really applied this concept. So, yeah, that's where we are at.
So, okay, so just backing up a little bit. So you get pulled over.
Yeah.
I mean, your cart locks.
Yeah.
Somebody comes over to you, and then they say, "You, sir or man, you have to stay here." So if they say that to you, what do you do have to stay there?
Yes. So if they say that to you, it's a detention, right?
Okay.
They are depriving your liberty to move out of the premises, which means that you have to comply. If, however, you decide not to comply, that will be fine if it's later proved that you haven't done anything wrong. The thing with this is, at the time this happens, it's difficult to know if it is legal or not.
Right.
Usually, you will know that only later when you verify the facts and when you take the totality of circumstances, right? So at that point in time, you are free to walk away, but then if it's later proved that you did shoplift or if you engaged in theft, then the fact that you walked away could be used against you. So if you are detained, as long as it's done in a lawful way where they have to be respectful, they have to ensure your detention is only for investigatory purposes, they have to call the cops as well. The law says the cops have to be called forthwith, right? And they can't wait for a day. I mean, they can wait for some time, maybe a few minutes, just to ask you some questions, verify facts.
A few minutes.
Yeah, a few minutes.
Okay, so let's say you were detained and you were right. Can you take legal action?
Yes. So if you were detained and if you were right, you can sue them for what's called false imprisonment. The thing with false imprisonment is that it's actionable per se, meaning you don't have to suffer damages. As long as the imprisonment has been false, you can make a claim. It's a civil claim for damages. You can go to court. But the thing with these kinds of claims is that most people don't go to court. I mean, especially when you're talking about the big box stores. Individual customers don't really go to courts against these stores. I mean, they, of course, suffer the humiliation and the embarrassment. But then it's not often that you see these kinds of cases litigated in court. But whether you have a claim, of course you have a claim. If your bag has been searched without your consent or approval, you have a claim for breach of privacy, you know? So you have a few avenues in law for sure, yeah.
I want to just mention, in a statement to CTV's Your Morning, our show, we reached out to Loblaw. I'm going to read what they said. Quote, "There's been a substantial increase in high-value theft from retail stores in recent years. We've had to make some changes in how our stores operate to stop this crime, adding lock cabinets, time delay safes, security gates as well, while at the same time maintaining a welcoming and convenient customer experience." So I wanted to mention that. We really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
All right.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.